Hey beer geeks, welcome to the Craft Beer channel and welcome to an industrial estate in Sheffield. Now if you've been watching the Craft Beer channel for long enough, you'll know that all the best things happen in industrial estates, and this is no exception. There's butterflies flying around me, it looks luscious and green, and I am at a brewery that I've been wanting to visit for a long time, a brewery that I've kind of been tracking even before they started brewing in the UK, and that is St Mars of the Desert. A couple of months ago we did a video in our Under the Radar series, which is where we dig into breweries that we think are flying under the radar and deserve more praise. And we had a huge response to our episode on St Mars of the Desert after trying some delicious beer. So I promptly booked a train and came up to witness not just the brew, but also to taste some beers with Dan and Martha, the unusual creators of some really idiosyncratic beers that are produced in a way, as Dan said during the brew day today, it's kind of medieval brewing on a modern kit. And there's lots more gold like that to come in this video, so stick around. St Mars of the Desert started life as Pretty Things, a Boston-based brewery that existed in that heady time when it was possible to get hype for your house saison. Tired of playing the big volume, distro-led, contract-brewed game, founders Dan and Martha went on a backpacking adventure around the world listening for their next calling. To everyone's surprise, including their own, they settled in Sheffield, Yorkshire, a city famous for its steel manufacturing, but also its great cask-ale culture. There, they built a brewery inspired by their love of Belgian ales and travel through Europe, but defiantly its own.
We're like on a little raft, and we can still see the mainland, but we're like, keep paddling, sort of thing.
Dan and Martha make traditional-sounding beer, saison, Helles, Brune, IPA, and use historic equipment like a cool ship, but never in the way or with the results you expect.
If there's such thing as styles, then we're not respectful brewers. How could you take something you can fit on the back of a bubblegum package, give authenticity to something that's stealing from someone else's culture? That's how I felt about it.
In my mind, this makes them one of the most exciting breweries in the UK, and maybe the world, which might explain my childish glee while taking a tour of the brewery with Martha leading the way and Dan stepping in as camera operator. So Martha, this is actually going to be a brewery tour. Quite often it's all one room.
Right.
You guys have two. This is bonkers. So we'll start in the brew house. Tell me about where this kit came from and what it can do.
So this is a Moschle kit, and we got lucky because when we chose Sheffield, we had no idea there was a manufacturer of breweries based here.
Yeah, plenty of steel, but maybe you didn't
know about. Plenty of steel,
yeah.
Which he said this steel has come from Sheffield, but it was built in Germany, so
right, okay.
I don't know if I believe them. Anyway, but it's a German company and they've got an office in Sheffield.
Right, wow.
So we were able to really just go in all the time and really tell them what we wanted and hash out the plans. Mm-hmm. And it was great.
What was it you were looking for?
So it was kind of Dan's dream brewery, which I think is sort of halfway between a really awful, terrible, rinky-dink dairy tanks Frankenbrew, whatever you
like
call
big
that.
pots and pans wise.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there, combined with like German precision and engineering. So that's Dan. So Dan had really clear ideas about what he wanted. Some of the things that we ended up with, like this is an infusion mash tun. We ended up with that because of budget. Like we just couldn't afford a steam boiler. We couldn't afford all of that. So we've got a fairly traditional British infusion mash tun, and then the kettle is gas-fired.
I mean, a relatively traditional brew house through budget and imagination, but
then we added
something
this.
different happened to
They couldn't believe it when they didn't know what it was at first. Even
so it's the same fabricators as the brewery?
Same fabricators, right? And they did a beautiful job. Like it's way more like solid than it probably needs to be, but it is a lovely thing.
Yeah.
But we had to like describe it to them. They were like, basically it's a bathtub. I was like, yes, it's basically a bathtub.
Sending the photos of old Belgian breweries. And...
Well, this is it. But in Germany, it's very traditional to have a cool ship.
Right.
But obviously modern Germany, no.
Yeah, the last time somebody came asking for one is maybe a century ago.
Yeah, probably. It's like when we wanted that slate fermenter as well, which didn't happen, but almost did. So we added the cool ship. Dan had always wanted a cool ship. I think he didn't even really know why he wanted a cool ship. He just thought they were cool. I think he liked
I can see him making a face. We'll dig into that later.
Yeah, you can get into that with him later. But we got it, and we've used it in many different ways. All of them the least expected from the modern craft beer perspective.
Yeah, which is the production of like wild ale.
Exactly. We do not use the cool ship for that.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
We use it for getting hop character, getting head retention from those hops. We run our wort through this basket, which we fill with whole cone leaf hops, and we just find it just works magic on the beer.
Yeah.
So that's really what we do. And we also, the other thing about it is when you've filled this with hot liquid, all of the evaporation gets rid of things like DMS,
Right. Okay.
which I just don't like that character at all. I know in some lagers you want a bit of DMS. We just don't love it. So it's really nice to drive that off, and it's a very good way of doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've learned how to use it in, I think, slightly unexpected ways. Dan wants something, we just buy it, and then we figure it out afterwards, like
Cool.
why we did it.
Yeah.
That's our life.
That's a definition, as good a definition of craft as I've ever heard.
Yeah, there you go.
So right, so then we come, 3 fermenters and a bright tank, or is
Yes,
this
so we started out with these two. These two are both mostly from Germany, and they are solid as anything, and they're double-sized, and they go to 3-bar pressure, which is absurd in this country. It's kind of like why we had to have it made in Germany, because that's very normal in Germany.
Right.
Like you'll see fermentations in Germany, and they're at 3-bar, which to me is just like mad. We never go that high.
Right, okay, yeah.
And then this is a packaging tank, which again is something that Dan wanted. And it has a paddle. I don't know if you can see that thing sticking out.
Like a little rocket's crashed into the side. Yeah.
So this is a Belgian-inspired tank, and it has a mixer inside, and it's for bottle re-fermentation. So you add your yeast, you add your sugar, and then you gently mix,
Right, okay,
so that you
and
never
then-
get any settling. You get a nice even distribution of everything.
Yeah, and then bottle warm and away it goes. I see.
But of course, you'll notice instead of having a bottling line, we have a canning line. So that was a mistake.
You've got a bottling line.
So yeah, you win some, you lose some
Yeah.
with Dan.
He didn't know he was
yeah.
going to take a pounding when he was holding the camera. Is it?
That's what you get when you
Defenceless.
put me in front of it.
That's terrible.
And a bit of wood.
Yeah, this was sort of, we were actually looking to add fermentation like volume, and we'd run out of money, and I was like, these are really reasonably priced.
Oh, right, really?
Compared
sort
to
of
that,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
I think this was about $3,000, and those were like 18.
$3,000 new?
No,
Or
so they're
second-hand?
reconditioned.
Right, okay, right.
So again, Germany. It's an Italian Barolo red wine barrel, but there's a company in Germany who takes those barrels, reconditions them, they scrape the inside to get rid of the red wine character. They just make them beautiful.
Retoast it and away you go.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and it is lovely, and we do use it. And we use it, so what we'll do is we'll usually bypass the cool ship, just put wort in here, and it's sort of developed its own culture.
Okay, cool.
Depending what you put in, you get different, like if you want lacto, we heat it up a bit, we put fewer hops in, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So you can control what you're going to end up with a little bit, but basically we put beer in here and hope for the best.
Okay. Has it got something in it right now?
Yes, it does. It has a very strong, dark, sort of Belgian-y thing. That we're waiting to see what happens.
Get used to
with.
those precise style definitions in this video, folks.
It's going well. Like you can see, it's coming down nicely. It was 10:06, and then it's down to 10:04.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get to
11:15.
11:15. So it's come a long way. It's been in there.
Yeah,
It's been in
yeah.
there a long time
We do
now.
a lot of blending with it, basically.
Okay, so it'll be like a base beer to sort of...
We're going to
maybe
do
some
3
things
different
with.
things. We always, whenever we go out for dinner, that's all we ever talk about. We end up talking about the food. It's like, no, hang on, there's 3 beers.
Food over the food. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So we have big plans for Christmas time with this beer.
Okay,
So I'll
beautiful.
knock on wood.
Oh, wait, there we go, yeah. Right, should we have a look at the tap room?
Yeah, let's go through. Welcome to the tap room.
Yeah, so this is the space I'm more familiar with because
It's what you see.
all over social is just endless photos of the incredible job you've done to turn an industrial space into something that really feels like walking into someone's mind. I guess a
Yes,
combination
that's
of
a fair-
you and Dan's.
That's a fair.
This is what it's like
Summary.
in there, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's this inspired by? Like it has echoes of De Dollar and some of the other madder Belgian
Definitely.
breweries.
Definitely. And yeah, I mean, it is. I'd never been to Thierry before, but I think the tap room that this looks most like is the Thierry tap room. And that's just funny because I've not been there, but it is quite similar. It's definitely Euro inspired, but not from me consciously. I think maybe a bit more from Dan consciously. For me, I just like blue, so I just painted everything blue. And I painted all, the stuff on the walls.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very familiar, like, it's a little bit Harvey-esque, the blue. It's a lovely kind of soft, warm, inviting colour. Like the whole colour palette, I think, of the brewery is beautiful and suits.
We've always had red. So this was our old brewery in America.
Right, so that's Pretty Things.
That used to be red.
Right.
And then, so I got my way this time and it's blue. Yeah, so it's just, it's really funny because we were talking to somebody about it the other day and they were like, it's cluttered and yet not cluttered. And I was like, yeah, we hate clutter. And then we looked around and we were like,
sure.
So I guess we like clutter if it's beer clutter.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think in my house, we say the same thing.
Yeah.
We hate clutter, and then you actually look and go,
Apart from
we hate
all of
more
that.
clutter than this, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So this tap room, you were saying earlier, it used to be table service.
Yes.
And that sort of disappeared as you've got busier, but that's another sort of Central European, I guess.
Yeah,
I should say.
it was lovely. It sort of started in COVID, obviously, where you had to do it.
Right.
And we loved the vibe that it produced, and it is a nice thing to go to a place and just relax at your table, and people come to you. It's a very civilised way to drink
And to have
beer.
that opportunity to explain the beer list and not just be sort of, what do you want? There's people waiting. There's a pressure to the bar.
Yes. Yeah. I always say I hate going to the pub because I go to the bar and they're always straight in, aren't they?
Yeah.
What can I get you? And I'm like,
You're
I don't know. I'm panicking. So I always say there's no rush. There's no rush.
Yeah.
And we still have a beer menu so people can read about the beers before.
Yeah.
Sit down first if they want to. So I try and just have that like laid back feel still. But yeah, table service is unfortunately a really expensive way of serving beer.
Yeah.
So
There's
it
enough
couldn't
pressures on hospitality without adding
Yeah.
that to the mix.
Yeah.
I mean, I notice you say no standing at the bar. So you want them to say their drink and go, but there is a joy in talking about the things that you're passionate about.
Definitely,
from behind the bar.
as long as I'm the one like guiding the conversation, you're like stand at the bar. We should say, please, no boring.
No boring standing, yeah. If you're fascinating, stick around, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, I'm not fascinating enough to be at the bar, but I did pull up a chair with Dan to talk about some of the beers and to wrap my head around how this tiny slice of off-kilter Central European brewing culture has made a home and indeed a name for itself in the middle of Sheffield's industrial heartland.
So Dan, recently we did our episode on, we call it Under the Radar, so breweries that we think are underrated or people are passing by. And we had like 4 absolutely stellar beers, all completely unique, even within their own sort of style.
Cool.
But we also gave the people at home the story of SMOD. I'm interested how close we got and whether you could fill us in.
You did get us right. We were Pretty Things in America. There was a monk involved, and I do have a monk hotline. There was a place in France, and still is a place in France, called Saint Mars du Désert. And in fact, there's 2 of them.
But neither have a brewery in.
No,
Sadly,
didn't
come together.
No. Oh yeah, you talked about the Latin phrase. That's all true.
It's above the cool ship, yeah.
It's above the cool ship, yeah. So it wasn't the first time that we had thought of Jack Door, but I had a dream where Jack Door was in it. And I remember it specifically because it was on brew day. And brew days, we would, back in the Pretty Things time, we'd get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to drive to the brewery, which was perfect because Brother Brian, being a monk and basically our assistant brewer for several years, 3 o'clock in the morning is like they're 9 a.m. or something, so it's quite easy to rouse a monk at that time. But I had this dream, and I was in a forest, and just beyond the trees, pushing sort of through the brush like an elephant, was a giant Jack Door with his arms swinging and his mustache down like that. And he had a deep voice. He was huge.
Deep voice, that's not what I expected looking at him.
Yeah, I know, well...
I was thinking like more Poirot kind of.
No.
Right.
His mustache was inspired when I drew it by these guys I used to see in Antwerp. These old guys sitting around the brown cafes with the giant moustache. So he was sort of modeled after them, and they all seemed to have the voice. maybe I'm mistaken, but this is like my memory. And in fact, this dream is probably now 15 years old or something itself. But and he started speaking Latin. And of course, maybe, I grew up Roman Catholic, so there's been a bit of Latin in my, around me, but I've never engaged with it. So, I don't speak Latin, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I woke up and I said, Martha, I still remember what Jack Dore said, so I wrote it down. And I was like, I'm going to show it to Brother Brian later. And lo and behold, I show it to him, and he just translated it to me, and it was, the truth is in itself, which it could, we put meaning to it, but it could be gibberish as well. It just happens to fit. But it's just too good, and that inspired me, that something that I created came to life and spoke back to me in an act. Well, it would have saved me some time if he spoke English to me, to be fair. But that's
Maybe it was a message for Brian as well. Maybe he's taken inspiration.
it was speaking a language that I don't speak, so that is incredible. I thought it was incredible, and so we painted.
It adds credence to the story, doesn't it? You can't dismiss it if like he spoke a language you didn't understand and it made sense when you wrote it down.
Yeah. So there you go. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
From beyond, Jack Dore from the beyond.
So how has that phrase come to apply to the brewing that you do? Why have you kept it?
Well, so we're kind of funny brewery because what we're inspired by is this idea that is only sort of in our own heads. I've been a brewer for a long time, 34 years, and about 5 years in, I became insanely bored and I just thought, it's not something I want to do anymore.
Right.
And that was about 1996. And it was before I really thought. I was only stuck in the local beer scene. It was about Boston, it was about New England, it was about, back then all the labels had pictures of old covered bridges, and, it was the old something this and the old this.
I guess sort of the brew pub styles that.
Yeah, it was all that. It was the raspberry wheat and the amber ale and all that
Blonde,
stuff.
which we're still not sure what style that is or what it is. Or
Nobody knows what that is. But then the paddles and then the fleece jack. It was that was craft beer at the time, and I was like, this is so dorky. Nobody needs me doing this. Why don't I do something else? And I went to Boston used to have these shops that would have hundreds of dusty old bottles from probably breweries that didn't exist anymore, like lager breweries and stuff. And I saw Ur beer label. I had never had a sour beer. I don't think I'd ever had a sour beer, and it was a sour beer back then because they used Rodenbach yeast. And I went home, and the beer blew my mind. I was convinced not only like it was great, I was convinced that it was a mistake. Like I got a one-off weird bottle, but it happened to be great. And so that sort of turned into me and my assistant brewer at the time going to Belgium and like checking it out. And when you walk up to the brewery and you see the place,
the bow tie
everything,
man staring down on you.
The gates, everything, like you realize that. No, all the weirdness is intentional, but done incredibly well. And just, I don't know, you walked in the building, you could smell that the building made Ur beer. And then I just loved that it was in an old 1830s or 40s brewery, which we, of course, don't have in the U.S. because of Prohibition. And that, to me, that building and the cool ship and the Bodilo and the weird iron mash tun that probably can never get quite clean, and the copper open fermentation. Like I wanted a brewery just like that, a brewery that really made that had its own personality, sort of dictated what we did, and it would flow through all of our beers in that same way. So you can get a house character. About 10 years ago, people were talking about sense of place and things in beer, and using fancy wine terms. And breweries have always had this idea of house character. But it's gone away over the years because, every beer is using a different yeast and different water profiles. It used to be, you had water, you had your yeast, and then you had the house character as well. So I wanted to build a place that had character, but I was going to use other yeasts. I wanted something that pushed through that. And then over time, we started adding to that with things like sauergut. We do this thing called Dunderwasser, which I don't even want to get into, but it's another way of making more esters in the beer.
Right.
Dunderwasser. Dunderwasser. That I invented it after.
So that's your term for it.
Yeah, I invented.
So something water.
So there's this Jamaican rum. They had this thing called the Dunder Pit, which
Of course. Yeah.
So I was inspired by that. I Dunderize the water that goes into the mash and sparge, so that I have those carboxylic acids that will later be esters. So,
and you mentioned sauergut, which I think we should reference as well. So you've got these types of different acids that you're adding during the mash as well for the similar reasons.
Yeah. So, I mean, the basic reason is to. That's a good idea. You need to acidify your mash. If you have soft water and you're making a pale beer, you need to.
Yeah.
And then you need to with the sparge as well. In the Reinheitsgebot German tradition, you can't add acid, so you make it out of wort. It adds to the beautiful soft lacing. It gives a juicy maltiness to the beer. It accentuates maltiness, and it also gives esters to the beer. When you're basically adding lactic, but a lot of other things. Like I said, there's going to be some butyric and there's going to be some other things because as you saw how I'm making it, basically I take wort, I heat it up to 43 degrees, keep it at 43 degrees for a day, and I have a little bit of barley in, and that is where the lactobacillus comes from, and it's of course it's all sanitized, that goes through the system. You couldn't ever add it to beer. What I like to do is sort of this brew house manipulation that really does change and enhance the beer. Our IPAs can be so insanely fruity from this Dunderwasser.
It's fascinating. I mean, everything you're saying is fascinating, to be honest, because this is not an approach to brewing that we see very often. We're all using the same ingredients.
Yeah.
And so you seem to have been adamant and to have found a way to use the same ingredients as other people, but to give them that house flavor. And by house, you literally mean, where we are, the people that are there, the bacteria you're growing and the processing that you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most important thing, and the thing that I realized, because I used to be like a craft brewer back in the 90s, where, hey, everything's good. I love everything. I'll try my hand or whatever, all that kind of stuff. Now, and when I met Martha, she was totally black and white about beer. Oh, that beer's awful. That beer's great. Okay, well, no. Over time, like I've managed to become like that, which is the best thing that's ever happened to me, like knowing exactly what I want. So, for instance, if I find something that I like from making a lager, that's going in my IPA too, and that's going in my stouts too. It's so we're all marching forward. Any improvements going in everything, because why wouldn't you do that?
House style over style guidelines almost.
Yeah. I haven't looked at style guidelines. I've thought about this. I haven't looked at style guidelines since 2007. So.
What happened in 2007 that made you?
I was reading a style guideline book, and I said to myself, "This is nonsense. Like, there's no, if there's such thing as styles, then we're not respectful brewers. How could you take something you can fit on the back of a bubblegum package?
Yeah.
Give authenticity to something that's stealing from someone else's culture." That's how I felt about it. I just thought there's no such thing as, so I think there's no such thing as beer styles, but we're always trying to tribute other great beers, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But like, actually we have a Kolsch in the tank. It's not a Kolsch, but what else am I supposed to say? And I didn't even look what a Kolsch is. I just used my memory and how I wanted to make the beer, and so. I'll never enter that into a global competition. Yeah. But I dare someone to come here and drink it and not tell me it's good, because like well, it better be. I've been trying to, I've been trying to make beer for a long time now.
Yeah. So before we move on to Jackdaw, which I'm very excited to taste in a slightly different packaging format, when we put our video live and you kindly emailed us and said that you loved it, but that we needed to talk about lager, what was it that we said that made you wrinkle your brow?
But the main thing you said, and I'm not putting any blame on you. Anyone can say this, and they might be right. But is this a lager? You were like, go on, say it, and it's not a lager. There.
It's very interesting. It's very delicious.
Yeah. Go on, say it.
I'm not sure it's a lager.
And I totally get where you're coming from, because our lagers do have estery qualities, and we recently had a group of, I think, 10 Germans from northern Germany, and they had our pills, which we don't have on at this very minute, but we're brewing another one today. They thought that I had added fruit to the beer, and they didn't like it.
Right.
So those people, and then like it's not crisp or crispy or whatever the word is, and you're all right in a lot of ways. But I do remember going to Franconia and going to this brewery called Bayer that's out in the countryside with Dan Shelton. And they had a beer that had sourness, but obviously not from the fermentation. I would say tartness, but not from the fermentation. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was the first time I met someone who was doing what I'm doing, which is like low acidity sour goot and jamming up on it. Yeah. Maybe they don't make beer like that, but I went crazy over that. It was their land beer. I went absolutely crazy for it, and I've since had all sorts of lagers from smaller breweries that are outside of what the crispy thing or whatever, less angular and more, I guess, more rustic. Brother Brian, you were saying, he watched that video actually,
Okay.
or watched some of it.
I hate the idea that monks are watching it.
He didn't want to watch it, to be fair.
You made him, or what?
I sent him a link, and he didn't like that you said rustic, because he thought it meant
like a pejorative.
Yeah, I'm not a professional brewer, but
right, okay.
I like it in terms of like rustic. To me means you're bothered by the outside world, and like Martha and I think of us, we're like on a little raft, and we can still see the mainland, but we're like keep paddling, sort of thing. But
I mean, actually the term rustic, the first time I saw it on a can was actually Reese at Donzoco.
Yeah,
put it on. It might have even been on Big Foam originally,
right?
Because he tasted his beer and went, "Well, this is." Slightly hazy, not what people will expect when they pour this, and it will have loads of rounded malt character, juicy quality, probably some sort of green woodiness from a real hop character.
Yeah.
That has this kind of pastoral feel to it.
Yeah, cool.
And that's what I meant when I talked.
See, we're in agreement, So, yeah.
So, sorry, Brian. This man is a professional brewer of serious chops.
He knows that. He knows that.
When Dan and Martha left Pretty Things behind, Jackdaw came with them, and they've been slowly refining the beer ever since. The latest change is a small run going into green bottles, the same format as the saisons that inspired it. It's the kind of thing you have to be really, really nerdy to care about. So of course, I was ecstatic.
So when we put that video live with you, we got loads of comments from people from New England who were reminiscing about Pretty Things days, and lots of them amazed that you ended up in Sheffield. I mean, you must be quite amazed you ended up in Sheffield, let alone them.
Yeah.
But this was a beer that you brewed at Pretty Things, and lots of people remembered it. Tell me about where this came from.
We had lived in UK for 2 years, and I was brewing real ale up north. And in 2008, we moved back to Boston with very little money, and Martha immediately got a job at MIT, and I couldn't get a job. So Martha said, "We've got $8,000. Could you brew a batch of beer with that, and sell it?" And I was like, "Well, probably just about." So we took the 8,000. I drew Jackdaw stood in a mash tun. It was very colorful back then. We called the beer Pretty Things, which was meant to be a joke because all of the labels were meant to be a bit creepy and bad.
Okay.
So, and they were all bitter beers, and we made a manifesto. We're making bitter beers that are rustic and,
And the Daronka, like, boldly bitter.
Yeah, sort of. They were going to be out there. We thought we'd make one batch of beer, and we wanted it to be memorable, so that when I went to try to find a job, they'd be like, "Oh, I saw that stupid bottle on the shelf.
Okay, right.
I
Yeah.
heard about you." And we blew through the 8,000 making the one batch, and then waited for the money to come back so we could brew another one. It took forever. It took like 4 months to come back through the system. Anyway, lo and behold, it became a bit of a success, and it literally built this brewery in cash and bought us a house here in cash.
Wow.
So that's how attached I am to Jackdaw.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make this the best beer in the world that I can make. And people from America who used to love it might recognize it. I think it's a lot better because it's bottle re-fermented now, and I'm doing every trick in the book instead of having to do big batches and go off and have distributor meetings. It's like we brew the beer ourselves. It's worth noting that while we're doing this, Martha is brewing. People think she draws the pictures. I just told you I drew this pretty picture, and she's brewing the beer. So it's anyway.
Reversal for this one.
So we're very attached to him, and he speaks to us in Latin, and he is a barley. For some reason, people think he's a lemon, so they're like, I don't like lemon flavored beer. Yeah, who does?
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, and that's all you need to know about him, really.
Is it like inspired by Saison? Is it?
Yeah,
inspired
this is straight up like if DuPont is Saison and Daronka is somewhere on the Saison scale, the double X, it's in there. In the green bottle, it really screams, sort of country Belgian beer.
So that's down to what? To light strike of those hop characters.
Yeah, it's just a light strike. For some reason, it seems to go well with certain hops that are done in a certain way in certain yeast strains. So I think the big bottles of DuPont are all green, and you can get XX in green, and I like it. Other people don't. Like I poured one of these for Evan from the Colonel a few weeks ago. I couldn't totally read him, but I think he said he'd prefer it in a brown bottle.
Okay. Yeah. But he'd have taken a long pause and then said it in a very considered way, I'm sure.
Well, he's super, isn't he? So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the reason I sort of did that is because I was literally transported to I don't know, like a Brussels bar, like pushing a kelder or somewhere.
I wish you had taken me with you. Like I'm stuck here working.
It just immediately, like I think it's brighter and it's lighter and it's maybe a little bit drier than some of the Belgian examples of that.
Yeah.
But it just that flavour and that aroma.
Yeah.
It's just very much of a place. So you opened in 2019. What was it? So at that point, the UK beer industry, to my mind, was, kind of New England obsessed, double IPA obsessed as well. There were like green shoots of maybe a slight lager revolution sort of coming in. What was your thoughts when you moved into England, and how's it been to try and talk about your style of brewing to people?
Well, the good news is that people here are beer crazy. So like it's really easy in some way. People are making major effort to come here and to drink the beer. So like they kind of want something to be worth the distance. If we made a bunch of hazy pale ales, like you can get that everywhere. Also, people are so friendly here that we had just traveled in between Pretty Things and looking for brewery sites. We had traveled to over 30 countries, like backpacking and stuff like that. And so I felt like I'd met nasty people and friendly people. And when we came to Sheffield, it was the friendliest people in that whole 2-year period. and it was very welcoming, and people just here get on with life, want to have fun. So like whatever I'm doing, or whatever Martha's doing, whatever silly thing we're drawing or making, it's only adding, and people look at. I was embarrassed by the name of the brewery when we first opened. Like people are just gonna think I'm an idiot. We're idiots and we have bad ideas and stuff. But everyone loves the what's different, here. So it's been good.
It's very hard to talk and define what St. Mars is, and that's why we said in the video, we need more breweries like this, because I do think that style guides are kind of important for us to communicate to people what things are, but by the same token, I think we need more breweries that say, I don't give a shit about that thing.
I mean, I'm not trying to make kooky beers, really. If you look at what I'm making, they're all like in the first page of the style guidelines, probably. But that's it. I mean, it just shows you that some of these beers are, you think are simple. A brewer can spend a lifetime, and maybe if I had a few more lives, I could spend even more time trying to make them well.
If I had a few more lifetimes, I'd like to spend at least one of them in the St. Mars taproom, but sadly, I had a train to catch. And only time for one more fest beer to film a summary of what in retrospect was a truly enlightening day.
Sometimes you walk into a pub, a tap room, a brewery, and immediately feel at home. That's what you want when you walk into a pub or a tap room or a brewery, the kind of feeling that it's an extension of your home, that you can be yourself with your friends and you can have some amazing beer. And despite meeting the wonderful, lovely people that are Martha and Dan before, and having drunk lots of their beers, I was a little bit worried that this video might come across a little bit pretentious, a little bit strange, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Like, this space, I feel like I have been here, although I have never been here. I feel like I've known Martha and Dan for a long, long time. We agree on so many things. They are so welcoming. And I've come to this kind of strange conclusion from being here all day, from seeing them brew, from seeing the utterly mad things that they do around butyric acid being added to the mash along with lots of other acids, around having a cool ship where the hops go in, around the tap room itself, the decor, the inspirations that they have, the mad dreams that Dan has had, and the beautiful sort of off-kilter drawings that Martha does, should come across as odd and pretentious, and should be the kind of thing that when you say craft to your friend, they're like, ugh, that kind of weird stuff, that over hop stuff, all this kind of cliches. But actually, what is less pretentious? What is more welcoming than being yourself? And I haven't been to many breweries where the people are so much themselves, and I think that comes from the experience that these guys have had, both in brewing and outside of brewing, from the inspirations that they've had on those journeys, and from the beers that they've looked to create. And there is no space like this anywhere else in the UK, and I'm not sure there is really around the world, because you've got an American and an English person who have travelled extensively through Europe and created something that is somehow a mix of all of those things, and then as a result completely something in and of itself. So what's cooler than being cool? What's cooler than being yourself? And what's cooler than a beautiful lager that is well adjusted by acids during the mash? Cheers.